Today we're going to be breaking down Cove Edition, and this has a very interesting payment plan that I think a lot of you guys might be interested in. As you know, here on this channel we try and find some of the best opportunities in Dubai's market, which can be pretty challenging in the current climate. So if you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing in this market and what I'm seeing as potential opportunities, smash that subscribe button, hit the like button to help this video get out to more people. And if you do want to get in contact with myself, all of my contact details are down there in the description. Feel free to reach out with any of your questions. And let's hand this over to my partner Garvan to go through these details in absolute depth. And guys, you're not going to find this sort of depth of value anywhere else on YouTube, so we can jump into everything you need to know about Cove Edition and whether or not it might be something you guys want to start your research into.
Location wise, again, like I said, it wouldn't immediately appeal to me, but when we think about it in the wider sense of how Dubai is developing, I feel like these projects are more and more worth a little bit of investigation. So let's dive into it. Let's have a look at kind of the overview, have a look at the details and see what the sense of it is. So project highlights: 15-story architectural marvel, no less. Always a little bit of superbly in the sales material. Developed by IMTIAZ Developments. Prime location, Dubai land, 2 basements, 1 podium and 13 residential floors. So low rise, essentially, really good value. Let's jump into it. Studios from 462 square foot. We'll get to the prices a little bit further down. In the other document, we've got prices here for 1 beds from 900k and 2 beds from 1.3 million. So decent in terms of pricing, but let's just kind of see, is it worth it? So strategic location, I think, is the big thing that they're trying to emphasize. Strategic in the sense of what, I guess, I think that the main aspect of this is strategic in the sense of this really is the new Dubai. It's obviously the city, as we all know, is spilling outwards into the inland and also downwards towards Al Maktoum. So if we look at in terms of the fact that the city is now no longer going to be orientated so much towards DXB, we all know that downtown is extremely concentrated, more and more often populated by tourists and visitors. And, you know, if you're really long-term in Dubai, then somewhere like this is far more appealing if it's a long tenure. So let's just dive in specifically. Let's see exactly what's around. So I think there's a couple of things that are of note. There's the Al Habtoor Polo Club, which is interesting. There is a GEM school nearby, if I'm not mistaken. You've obviously incredible access to the road network, given the fact that you're right beside it. And in terms of developments, you've got some Bengadi stuff going on, Samana. There's a Tiger development. So you're not isolated. There is plenty happening around you, but at the same time, if you are of the nature of preferring a little bit more open space, you don't want to feel like you're in the depths of things in the concentrated center of Dubai, be that center in your mind the marina, be it downtown, or even I suppose some people now more and more feel like the center of their world is JVC, which we've heard so much noise about for so many years. When we look at JVC, there's a lot of development going on. And you'd have to question, is it the right move? And I say that even having invested in JVC heavily, I think that there's other opportunities now beyond JVC. It's still a great location. I still think Sports City, IMTIAZ are fantastic. But I do think that these areas like Town Square, for example, which is getting a lot of noise, and perhaps IMTIAZ or Dubai Land in general are worth a look. So let's dive in. IMTIAZ in terms of development, they focus predominantly on JVC. They have also developed in Al Farjan and then Dubai Land. And also they've got some interests in Dubai Islands. So I believe they were established in 1993 by an Afghani developer, this gentleman here. So they come with quite a substantial background and understanding of the country, which is always good to see. Insofar as I think we're all a little bit reticent to invest heavily in newer developers. So let's just have a quick look at properties. You can see this is the drill down of everything that they either have had developed or currently have ongoing. So let's have a look at Cove. Obviously, like any development, the sales material all looks incredibly sexy and beautiful CGIs, but it is quite a nice development. 13 stories is always refreshing. You're not in a massive tower. I think the beautiful aspect of Dubai Land in general is just the open space. I think if you're, as I said at the beginning of the video, if you are long-term in Dubai and you do want more space and you do want to have a genuine community, I think these areas are more and more of interest. So again, let's just dive in now to have a look at a little bit more detail around floor plans, for example. So perhaps we take an example of a 1-bedroom with a terrace. So we see 1 bedroom, hall and kitchen here, decent entrance, kitchen and living space combined, bathroom, bedroom, big terrace, laundry, garbage, and yeah, overall not a bad layout. Let's just see in terms of pricing for that, for example. So if we took that, let's just say obviously it doesn't define precisely if that is an executive or a standard, but if we have a look here in terms of an executive, 1 bedroom, hall and kitchen, in terms of total space, pretty substantial, over 1,000 square foot, and selling price, two different prices depending on whether you want to pay a premium up front or whether you want to extend it out. Typically, obviously, I would always encourage, if cash flow is available, go for the shorter term. Don't extend out. We all know the payment plans are amazing. They are a superb way to get a foothold, but you are always paying more with a payment plan rather than a pre-existing unit. And obviously, if there's tiers to the payment plan, then of course, it's like anything. If you can pay the premium up front, take it, save the balance. So specifically for the payment plans, just to explain a little bit further what we have here in terms of the two options. So if we're focusing on unit 101 for simplicity's sake, executive, 1 bedroom, hall and kitchen, suite area space 769 square foot, balcony 401, total area, actually that's a beautiful size balcony, one must say, in terms of having open space around you. There's a difference between having a huge balcony when you're bolted up against another unit versus this. So total space over 1,000 square foot, and purchase price rather, selling from IMTIAZ and buying potentially in our cases, 971,000. So two options in terms of 50-50 or the expanded. So let's have a look at 50-50. That would be 20% down now, and then 5% chunked over November, February, June, November again, February 2026, and then 50% upon completion. So I guess what interests me about this that typically wouldn't is that it's a pretty rapid turnaround. You're going to have your hands on it. Let's say we take into account maybe a minor delay. Let's call it realistically, maybe it's August 2026. It's not too bad. 2 years is pretty good. Gives you time to gather together the payments. Obviously, the 20% down is fair. The 5% are not too bad. The 10% is nothing crazy. And then, you've got time to prepare for the 50%, which I quite like. So let's have a look at the other option, the 3-year post handover. So we've got 20% now, then the 555s, and then the 15% upon handover, and then the 30% to expand out. So, you could matriculate the numbers and see, does it warrant doing that insofar as would tenants clear the balance? I think if you were just going for pure ROI, perhaps it is worth it, but you'd have to drill down on the specific unit and see exactly if that makes sense, but definitely helpful for sure. So here's the sexy promo video, always good to see them, but you can see plenty of green space in the general area. Nice to get a feel for it. Overall, the development looks beautiful. I mean, one can't argue with that. I think there is such an attraction now to get out of the core city, get out of the drudgery of traffic. I think the one thing about JBC, and I say this, like I said, having invested in JBC decently heavily, is that, we all know the layout of the road network is dire. It really was not much foresight gone into it. So I think this is the opportunity with these areas insofar as have the learnings of these other areas come into play. Arguably so. You would like to think so anyway. At least you have the aspect of plenty of open living space. So we won't delay too long here, quickly scanning through, seeing some of the general feel that they're trying to establish. Obviously, some nice aspects to it, gym, clubhouse, etc. All the usual bits that we've come to expect from Dubai. So let's have a quick look at, I guess this is a lot of what everybody refers to now in terms of trying to understand, okay, where is my unit based? So 29 minutes to Al Maktoum, not too bad. I wouldn't say it's the absolute best, not the worst either. But I think the other benefit is that it is, I believe, less than 20 minutes to, sorry, we just put that in the wrong way. Let me see, 20 minutes to DXB, if I'm not mistaken. So let's just quickly, yes, so if we go from Cove to DXB, it's 19 minutes. Let's just see what we're talking about. If we go downtown, 18 minutes. So in that sense, pretty good location, and also when we look at what's around us, you've got a lot going on. You've got the Mushroom Park with the Mirdif, which is lovely. You know, if you're into cycling, this is a great place to be. So actually, when you look around it, there's a decent bit going on. It's not to be dismissed. I think this is the point of these locations. You know, whether or not you feel like they're for you now, today, I think there's no doubt about it that this is where things are moving. So not paying attention to these kind of developments, I think, is putting investors at a deficit. And I think there's a reason why IMTIAZ and many others are investing heavily in Dubai land. There's no doubt about that. I think the school networks are obviously going to flourish in the general area. And as we've seen here, the upcoming metro extension will cover this area as well. So I suppose, yeah, IMTIAZ, they do emphasize premium quality, family-orientated community, high potential for capital appreciation, a trusted developer, a proven track record, and fully furnished as well, which is tidy. If you did decide to go for this plan, where you just want to immediately offload it to either a short-term letting or probably not short-term letting realistically today, but a longer-term let. And then in the future, there's no doubt about it, there will be demand for short-term letting. So I think overall, it's definitely a project that's worth a look. I think if you're expanding and building a broader portfolio, I do think it's interesting to have units in these locations, you know, to not funnel everything into where you're hearing about relentlessly. You know, we've all heard about JBC for the last 4 or 5 years. I still think it's a super area, but I think there's other areas. There's areas like Dubai Land, Sports City, IMPZ. I think these are the places to take note of, to really expand and build your portfolio and make sure that you're covered in terms of not having all your eggs in the one basket.
Hopefully that provided you with some insight into Cove Edition. Again, guys, if you want to stay up to date with the Dubai markets, please feel free to smash that subscribe button. And if you do want to learn more, we do actually have a link to contact us down there in the description, so you guys can get some more help with any questions you might have with the Dubai real estate market. Hopefully you enjoyed this content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.